Good afternoon, and welcome back to Jeff and the Rabbi. You know, Rabbi Freeman, last week's show was a good one.
Yeah.
It was a good one. You got me thinking, and I think it got a lot of people thinking. You know, it was really probably, you know, we're talking about rights in society versus obligations in society. Probably it epitomized probably every show that we've talked about this year. I mean, it really did. The demand for, I've got a right to this, and not an obligation. So I was thinking, you know, obviously, and you mentioned me, let's do a part 2 this week. Let's talk about what happens to a society that's a rights society versus obligations. And I was thinking about it. One of the biggest problems I have here, and I know you and I have discussed this before, a lot of my family members, they're kind of from the Northeast, and we've talked about it before. I know it's embarrassing. They're a little bit more liberal than me, you know, and I'm obviously very moderate. So, you know, that's something to say. So I figured I have to, before we started the show today, talk really slow and try to explain to them why this is the rights versus obligations, or, you know, it's not a good thing. And then I'll let you take over. But I figure, you know, I got to get them to understand it, so I would speak at the beginning.
In a way that they can understand and
Right,
relate to.
right.
Because you know them.
Because I know them very well.
You people.
Right. Now, the rest of you that are like me, you got to sit back, talk amongst yourselves for a minute, do some calculus, rocket science, whatever we do here, and I'll explain it to the liberals in the crowd what this means.
Right. Tell them, how does this work?
This is how it works. Great example. And I know this will work well with you. McDonald's, right? Mm-hmm. Let's say I take my family out to dinner, including my cousins from the Northeast. Say 6 of us go out to dinner. Mm-hmm. Well, obviously, we're going to go to McDonald's and get the 6-piece chicken nugget special, Happy Meal.
Happy Meal.
Happy Meal. So we go down and get the Happy Meal, and each of us gets 1 chicken nugget. We're all happy. It's a Happy Meal.
Right.
We're all happy. Problem is, at the end of the meal, 3 of us doing all right, we get dessert. Now, no, not everyone's happy now, because 3 of them could get dessert. So we go the next night to McDonald's again to get our chicken nugget Happy Meal. And the other 3 say, wait a minute, I think I need to get a little bit more chicken nuggets in the package because I can't get dessert. I'm going to do it. So, okay, I want a chicken nugget and a half, each one of them says. Now, there's no problem there, except that now the rest of us, the other 3, now only have half a chicken nugget, or they get a chicken nugget and a half. Mm-hmm. Not that good. So the next day we go back and, you know, they might want a little more. So easy, we can solve the problem. We force McDonald's now to create a 12-piece chicken nugget meal at the same price, which is okay because we forced McDonald's to do it, so no one has to pay for it. The only problem now is they're a little happier because everybody gets 2 chicken nuggets, but the problem is now when I get my dessert, it's going to be a little bit more money because I have to pay more because they got to pay for these free chicken nuggets. Mm-hmm. Everything's working out great now because, listen, I'm able to do it.
Maybe we should tell McDonald's to give you the dessert at the old price because it's not fair. You have a right, you know, to get it at the lower price.
I don't necessarily have as much as rights. They have rights, but here's where it gets really bad. Now some of our other cousins from south of the border, I got some family, we decided they all have to have chicken nuggets too.
Right.
So the problem is now we're going for a 24-pack chicken nugget special at the same price as the 6 chicken nuggets that we had the other night, because they all have a right to that. Everyone has a right. The problem is McDonald's is now either 2 things are going to happen. Either one, they're going to have to charge way more for the desserts, which is going to be tough, or better yet, McDonald's is going to have to go out of business and the government's going to have to run McDonald's now. So we all can have chicken nuggets. Mm-hmm. And to paraphrase, I think it was, it might have been Margaret Thatcher, eventually you run out of other people's chicken nuggets.
Right.
So, I think she said that exactly. I don't even know if it's a paraphrase. So the problem is, cousins from up north, it seems that more chicken nuggets you get, the happier you're going to be. But it does not seem to work in that way because, you know, it's not fair. I still get desserts, and the thing is, you're still hungry. You want another chicken nugget. So that Happy Meal never seems to become a Happy Meal. Mm. No one's happy. We all have the right to our chicken nuggets. Now we're getting 3 chicken nuggets each. Cousin from down south, he's getting 3 chicken nuggets each, and no one's eating a Happy Meal. No one's happy. What's wrong with this picture?
Well, you know, I really...
one thing to add. By the way, McDonald's at the end, I've noticed that my chicken nuggets aren't tasting as good anymore because they're doing a little bit more nugget, less chicken at the end there because we got to make it work. So now we get less chicken nuggets. They're not as good. Right. So that's another problem we have there too.
Right. I wonder if there was any chicken in there to start with.
Probably not.
That's a different story. I wouldn't know about
whatever that
things.
Processed chicken, there's a little less of it in there now.
I wouldn't know, but from what I've heard, there's not a lot of chicken in there, and not a lot of beef, and not a lot of, you know. But, you know, if you really want, I was doing some reading, and I was reading up on some definitions.
Right.
And you know what I think? And maybe this will be the last time that, pretty soon it's going to be like Jeff and the someone else. But maybe the rabbi might be out of here.
Oh, no.
But you know what? I think I'm actually leaning towards being a classic socialist.
Uh-oh.
Watch out.
Wow. You're thinking Jeff and the Buddhist priest.
Did you hear? Right? Did you hear? Did you hear the bombs dropped? Now, it's a really interesting thing. Based on what we were talking about last week, we talked about there's the rights-oriented society and an obligations-oriented society. And what I really want to get to is how that filters into our own lives when we deal with each other, husbands and wives, parents and kids.
Right.
Just like the way I view myself and, the way I feel about myself. If I live in a world of rights, how does that impact me? And if I live in a world of obligations, how does that impact me? But let's start it off with a really interesting verse.
Okay.
The book of Job. You've probably heard about the book of Job.
I've heard the book of Job.
Everybody's heard about the book of Job, and everyone kind of knows the storyline. Like there's this guy Job, and he's really, really prosperous, and then just one thing after the other, after the other. Like every unimaginable thing that could go wrong. First, it talks about how wealthy he is, and he's got this wonderful family, and he's got his wife. Everything's going great, and then he loses his wealth, and his family dies, and everything horrible thing happens to him. And he gets all covered with illness, and it's horrible.
Sitting on an ash heap.
Yeah, he's just
not good.
Bad. But that people know the storyline. People haven't really studied it so much. There is a really interesting verse in there, and this is chapter 5, verse 7. Really important verse. It says, "Man was born to toil." Man was born to toil. And, of course, there's a lot of comment on that. But the idea is that working and toiling is what you're supposed to be doing.
Wow.
Not living off of freebies, not vacationing, not enjoying. Man wasn't born to enjoy.
I don't know where you've been. You must not be watching TV, and I don't know where you've been in the last 20, 30 years.
Right. Now, this is really interesting. Now, you can take this a few ways, but let me talk about the socialist angle before we get into the personal angle. So if you read up on socialism, so if you go back, you got to go back a ways. Let's say go back into the 50s and take out some book on economic theory and flip it open and read about socialism. How do they classically define socialism? So socialism is defined as follows. People are allowed to have all the money that they can earn, provided that they earned it.
Okay.
Which means that you're not allowed to make money off of money. You have to make your money off of work, and also you're not allowed to inherit money. They don't believe in inherited money.
Right.
They believe that you can make money off of producing goods, off of providing services, that you can make money, and if you make a lot of it, you have a right to have a lot of it, and if the other guy doesn't work as hard and he makes less, then he deserves to have less.
Okay, I haven't seen that definition in a while, but okay.
Okay, but that is in the classic textbook. I went back to the classic textbook definition.
Right.
Now, what they don't like is they don't like inherited wealth.
Right.
People never work for that. They're socialism is opposed to inherited wealth. Basically, in a real socialist system, if someone dies and has money, it just go back to the state.
Into the government.
And tell the kids, get out there and earn a living. If you want to get really rich, it's cool. You can do that. Work really hard, make a lot of money. The other guy's lazy, he doesn't make so much money. He suffers, you prosper. That's okay. But inherited wealth they're not into, and making money off of your money. For example, you made a lot of money because you worked very hard. You saved up a lot. You got a whole bunch of money. Now, because of that, you're able to make money off of your money.
Right.
That they're also not so cool.
Oh, that's gotcha.
That what you're doing then is you're taking advantage of something and you're not providing anything anymore. Although you'd say, well, like in the classic sense, I bought stock, which helps.
So my money is
working in the economy. But what they were really worried about is like this speculative type of stuff. And like as we saw, like the derivatives market, where no one's sure exactly like what that was doing for anyone in a positive sense. It's just some people were making money off it. It's just like a lot of like gambling and manipulation. So that socialism is opposed to. So I think the Torah, or in the book of Job, using the book of Job as an example of like what the Torah believes, man is born to toil, which means you're supposed to work hard, and then you can benefit from your hard work. You shouldn't be eating someone else's. You shouldn't be living off of freebies. You can't expect that someone else is going to provide for you or pick up the tab.
Right.
So it's very anti-welfare because you got to work for what you've got. On the other hand, so this would seem to be opposed to a welfare, a expectation that the society has to carry along. On the other hand, opposed to like the little rich kid growing up and to the manner born and having everything that he wants and expecting it because I've got money, and since I have money I'm kind of insulated and I'll have money, my kids love money. And as a matter of fact, some say that the verse is not saying a rule, it's saying it's a truism. Man was born to toil, and if you think you can avoid that, it's not going to happen. The kids will squander it all away, and they'll end up toiling anyway. Inherited wealth ends up, going down the drain. But the bottom line is, it's a healthy thing, says the Torah, to get out there, roll up your sleeves, and work.
But Comrade Freeman, it didn't work out exactly as he planned there, because it makes sense, and that is the true socialist dream, but it doesn't always work that way.
Yeah, no, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way because people are looking to get an advantage. But to bring it back to the more personal,
right? I got it.
When we, let's say, talk about it within our families, husbands and wives and stuff like that.
Right.
In our communities. So I know. Let's say in our synagogue. So we always hear this gripe that there are people paying dues. And some people aren't paying dues. And the people that are paying dues are just griping to no end about the people that don't pay dues. Whether that's true that people aren't paying dues or whatever. But the fact is that you assume you're supposed to be working and toiling. And if you had a lot of money, you should be toiling anyway. Because that's what man is supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be working. It is good and it's healthy, and it's good to reap the rewards of your toil and not rely on anyone else. But the fact that a person has to work and someone else is not working, it's sad for the person that's not working, but that doesn't mean that I should necessarily dump on them. I should feel good about the fact that I get up in the morning and I work, as I don't have expectations of not working.
But the problem and I agree with you, the problem is, though, back to the chicken nuggets, I mean, eventually these guys that are providing all the chicken nuggets are going to run out of chicken nuggets.
Right.
So what? I mean, and again, I understand that this person over here has a right to his chicken nuggets, and and just like the guy, he's got a right to go to your synagogue, but the guy over here that's providing those chicken nuggets is running out. So. Right. Does anybody left happy here?
So I really wanted to switch it to, and I really think, picking up from where we left off last week, I really can see that there is more happiness amongst the people that have more modest expectations.
Now that's interesting.
I think that yesterday I was at a state park. They got the classic, the lake, and the little the picnic tables around, and some people are out there grilling and all that. And I'm looking around. They got some families, big sort of extended families out there for the family picnic type of thing. And people are sitting on the ground. They're throwing the frisbee around. They're having the hamburgers and the hot dogs and all that stuff. And I'm looking at it. I'm saying, wow, no Disney World.
That's true.
Where's Disney World?
Right.
And I'm thinking, these people look to me, are just as happy as Disney World.
Or maybe happier.
And I thought maybe happier because you know
Right.
what? That family that's griping, the kid is unhappy because he's not getting Disney World. So then it's always not satisfying. We got to Disney World, but the hotel room wasn't right. We got to Disney World, but we had to stand in line. We didn't get to Disney World. We got to Disney World, but I didn't get the hat. We got to Disney World, but, there's so much expectation and so much unfulfilled expectation.
That's a good point.
I'm wondering about these families that were sitting there, someone's, mom or dad is flipping some burgers on the grill, and, the kids are like running around and like, swatting flies and throwing the frisbee around. But the expectations are low, and people are being happy, just being together.
So maybe then the problem with a right society in this thing is, you have so many rights, you expect so much. I mean, I have a right to a cell phone, I have a right to a TV, I have a right. But you know what? Maybe I just go out in the backyard and flip burgers with my family, and it might be a little better.
Do I have the rights to these things? They were talking about as I was driving away. This is what put the whole thing together. As I'm driving away, I was hearing a discussion about China. Right, so they've got this one-child law.
Right.
So
right.
what happened is, you have a one-child generation. That means one child, two parents, four grandparents, doting on this one kid.
Right.
So this kid grows up like his feet have never touched the ground, and he's like expectations galore. Now, what's going to happen when that kid is going to find out, first of all, when the kid grows up, he's going to find out he's got like 8. He's got all these grandparents,
Take care of
that are
them,
ill, and all these parents that are getting older.
Yeah.
And like he's like, hey, what do you mean? Why aren't you guys all taking care of me? And they're all like they're dying. They're laying in bed somewhere, and he for sure is going to just have to take them to an incinerator somewhere. He says, listen, you guys have turned into a tremendous burden.
Right.
You're supposed to be taking care of me, and you are a burden.
That's a good point. But that's a good point. So, maybe that has something to do with it. We have a society today where we pretty much get what we want. And we'll take certain sections of society. We watch TV. I don't know if you watch these shows. You watch whatever is TMZ and these Justin Bieber and all these kids. The kid's got everything he needs. But then he's got issues. And then this kid's going to rehab, and this other kid's going to a therapist, and the other one's taking prescriptions, drugs for happiness. But how can he not be happy? I mean, as you said, everybody's been doting on him. Everybody's been taking care of him. He's got the right to everything. But in our society today, he's probably the kid that's, he'll be in rehab and he's taking drugs to get through the day. There's got to be some correlation here. Something's going on.
It doesn't, there's no guarantee. Big family doesn't mean you're not going to have unhealthy people in there. Some of the kids are going to be unhealthy and all that. But, you grow up, you see kids, let's say, taking care of younger siblings or nieces and nephews and stuff like that.
Right.
You see obligations. You see people doing what they have to. The family shows up. It's like, all right, guys, let's get all the stuff out of the car. Bring the grill. You bring the stuff. Everyone brings it. Everyone sets up. And I'm looking at the whole scene. I'm thinking, like, this is inherently more healthy than the people that go, I've got to be pampered. Oh, what a rotten room we had, and I wanted the one near the monorail, and and I didn't get to see, I didn't get to see Mickey and whatever it might be. That people, what kind of vacations are these? So people that know to toil and they don't have the same expectations, life is much more satisfying. Listen, young couples. I was talking to a niece of mine, and she's talking about like all the young couples that are her cohort. They've all got a kid or two. They're all just like, they need to get away. They need to have a vacation.
Right.
I'm thinking like, my grandparents never took a vacation because they were immigrants. My parents like rarely took a vacation, right? But me, if I can't like get off to Israel when I want to, I'm like all frustrated because gosh, I should be able to fly around the world to like go to Israel when I want.
Good point.
I saw this. I was in a hospital, and I walked walking down the they had a picture near the station, nurse's station, and everyone like where they went in their summer vacation. So they had a picture of a guy, an orderly. He's just an orderly. I mean, because they have him like what he is, his name is, and where he of himself in Venice.
Ah, all right.
He's got to go to Venice. I mean, like I'm thinking, like first of all, he certainly didn't save his money. You know, if it had been my grandparents who were like orderlies or worked like that when they came to America, they saved their money. This guy didn't save his money. So he went to Venice. What are the expectations and how much does that weigh on people? So now you turn it into, look at marriage.
Right.
Husband, wife. They come home. Everyone's expecting, I had a hard day. Well, I had a hard day. Who's taking care of who? Who's satisfying who? So if you have a marriage where the two come home and they go, wow, I've got work to do. I've got work to make my spouse happy. No, if he's thinking that and she's not thinking that, or if she's thinking that and he's not thinking that, you got a problem.
That's not going to work.
But if you got two people coming home thinking like, wow, I got work to do. I've got to make my spouse happy. What about me not being happy? Well, if I make my spouse happy, then I will be happy. You know what? They're going to be happy.
That works out.
But if they're not thinking along those lines, they are not going to be happy. Then they're in therapy. Well, you don't care about my needs. You don't know about my needs. You're not concerned. You know, well, the whole thing starts to go down the tube.
So society that has everything sometimes has nothing. I mean, it doesn't work.
Right. The more you have, and the more you want to give everyone a right to that.
Right.
It really eats away at people's sense of satisfaction in life.
Well, that's a good
the
point.
Real problem. Your sense of satisfaction and what your expectations are. You know, when you hear sometimes of people that have less, now, you know, of course, there's pain and there's suffering and all that type of stuff. Don't want to put it down. And don't want to say that everyone's like always, everyone who's got a big family living in 2 rooms is just la-di-da and everyone's as happy as can be.
Right.
But one thing is for sure, seeing other people having more makes it harder to have less.
Without a doubt.
You know, that's difficult. That's difficult because it changes your expectations. But if everyone says, so many times you'll hear this, we were 6 kids, we lived in 1 room, but who knew any better? And we were happy. Because who knew any better?
I think that might be the key to it. Because, I mean, you take society today, you look at, like, the Amish society. Are you saying that maybe we should be living out in an area, driving a horse and buggy, not having anything at all? And I'm not saying the Amish aren't happy. They're probably very happy. Right. Is that the answer to true happiness right there?
Well, you know, the thing is really to be able to be happy with what you have. And, of course, when you have in front of your face, and particularly when you flip on the tube or whatever you're watching, and it's showing you all the time, you could have this, you could have that. So it changes your expectations, and it makes you unhappy when a guy is looking all day long at supermodels. He starts expecting that, and he comes home, and lo and behold, his wife isn't a supermodel.
That's a problem.
Right. And the wife is looking at things. The more and more we look outside, changes expectations, makes it harder to be satisfied with what we have. And that is the big issue. So the big issue is that obligations versus rights not only makes a society difficult, because the society finds it very, very difficult to supply everyone with all their rights.
Right.
That makes a real problem, but it also makes the people unhappier because I have constant expectations. I need to be fed. I come home, where's my dinner? You know, right. I need X amount of pleasure. You're not providing enough satisfaction to me. I'm going to go somewhere else to get my satisfaction. Well, that's a big problem.
Well, how could you possibly turn something like that around? I mean, once I have my 24-piece chicken nugget meal, I'm not going back to my 6-piece chicken nugget meal. I'm not happy. I'm not satisfied.
Right.
So what's the answer?
That's right. Well, so what is going to happen, of course, is everyone's going to be forced back into it because once society doesn't have enough to provide,
right,
it will collapse, and then everyone's going to be scrambling around, and everyone will really be happy. You know, I was just up in the Northeast, so they had a blistering heat wave.
Right.
So I was up there, it was like 95 degrees, humidity, heat, it's like 115 heat index. So then it rained, and the temperature got into the high 80s. It was like, wow. You know, it's really humid, it's really unpleasant, but, you know, a lot better than it was last week.
Right.
All of a sudden, life got a lot better. It's just that we can't ever be totally satisfied as human beings. We always want more, always want more, always want more. And if we stop and take a step back and talk about Job's sentence, Adam la'amal yulad, man was born to toil, and not to be afraid, and to train our children to earn things. That everything needs to be earned. I was just talking to a kid, and his team won. They had a color war at camp. His team won, and he suspected that it was fixed.
Right.
And I said, wow. I said, how'd it go? Did color war over? Yeah. Who won? My team won. Wow, isn't that great? I don't know. I think it was fixed. He's not satisfied.
He's not satisfied.
And he says, I have to find out. If he finds out that it wasn't fixed, he'll be really happy.
Right.
But when he finds out, but as long as he's suspecting it's fixed, because he didn't really earn it. They didn't really win it.
That's interesting. By the way, you're moving away from your socialist roots now, by the way. When you're talking about earning, to me, I think you're definitely moving away from your
No, so that's
roots.
one thing I wanted to tell you. Just want to say, it's not the way socialism is understood today, but I was surprised to find the classic definition. The classic definition, they don't mind work, and they don't mind people being wealthy and people being poor, except you have to work. You have to produce goods or services in order to have your wealth. You can't have made it off of money manipulation or inheritance.
But I think you've shown the perfect example that it doesn't stay that way. Things change, and once you get more, I want more, I deserve more, I should have more, I shouldn't have to work for it. And I think that's what happens by nature of people. So is the Torah saying, though, that true happiness is not what we have, but true happiness is getting there, or the work, or the toil, or what is it saying?
The earning of it is where the happiness is found. It's not. There's another one. Let me add another one. King Solomon said, "Sonei matanos yichya." The person that hates gifts, he will live. Meaning, if you live off of gifts, if you like living off of gifts, that's no life. People who hate gifts, meaning, I don't want a gift, I want to earn it. I don't want you to just give it to me, the freebie. I want to have earned it. And you feel good about yourself. You feel good about what you've accomplished. You don't want to just, like have the cheaters marks, inflated grades, and all that type of stuff. This is why even people that get like set-asides, like those racial set-asides, or preferential treatments and all that, because of your back history, it doesn't really work, because when the people get it, they're not happy with it because they didn't earn their way there.
So you've explained two things. One, you've explained the obligations and rights, but you also explained why Judaism is such a small religion and we're not growing that fast. So bottom line, guys, no. This is what you get.
Right? Listen, if I was
everybody else is getting a freebie, you're not getting one.
If I expected to go on preferential treatment, listen, look what happened to 6 million Jews were killed in the Holocaust. We deserve preferential treatment. See, you know what? You could get the preferential treatment, but you won't enjoy it.
And it's not going to be good in the long run.
Right. So this is really an issue. It's for parents. We give our kids all kinds of stuff, but, do the kids have to earn it? Not really. In school, you don't want anyone to feel bad, but what happens is people aren't earning things. Husbands and wives, have to realize that, like, the service of each other, the toil that we do for another is in itself rewarding. That is the reward, not the, I'm going away to relax. I know so many people in my congregation says people need to get away and relax. How much getting away and relaxing do you need to do?
That's a good point, yeah.
Is absolutely amazing. People, or I spoke to someone just yesterday, and she said she made up time to help someone else, but that person couldn't have time to be helped because they had to go out and run. So she says, I don't get it. You going out to run? So I said, well, no, the way this young person understands it is they have to make time for themselves. Everyone has to make time for yourself, and not be giving all the time. And really, the more the people that you find that are actually healthier and happier are really not making time for themselves. They're making time for other people.
That's very interesting. So this really is getting to be, I agree with you, this really is getting to the whole bottom line point of everything that we've discussed, which is very interesting. So you feel, though, that the only way that this comes around is when we hit a wall here, when we hit a Greece-type wall where, wait a minute, we're going to riot because I can't get more free education, and eventually that's the only thing we can do to go back to this here.
Or you give people the experience of helping. Like the kid that spends the summer camp working in a summer camp for disadvantaged kids or handicapped kids. And when they walk away from that, I know that there's this one summer camp for kids with terminal illness, and they actually have a waiting line for people to get on staff.
Wow.
It's really difficult to get on staff there, and they're very selective, and of course, you're not getting paid.
No.
You go there, you are going there to help. And the reason why there's a waiting line is because people know that after doing a summer work at that camp, you understand what life is all about. You feel good about yourself. So people are fighting to get staff jobs at this camp because they learn about what life really is.
So I guess the tour is that's a pretty darn good, easy lesson. You don't have to go too deep to figure out that lesson right there.
Right.
Sometimes the helpers are helped out a lot more than
that's right.
the ones that are not.
That's right. So that's really what we need. What we need to do is to try to bring back a life of service, and to remember that man was created to toil. If man was created to toil, that doesn't mean man was created to be miserable. That means man was created to toil. There's nothing. You can be happy. But what it's saying is toil. As a matter of fact, this reminds me of a lady, and you're going to love this.
Okay.
This is right up your alley.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. Whistle while you work. Who used to do that? Yeah.
The little the Snow White lady or whatever.
And the Seven Dwarfs.
The dwarves.
The dwarves.
That's my thing.
Right. I love dwarfs.
Right.
Dwarfs, midgets, he'll take them. If it's small, he'll take them.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. So they knew that you whistle while you work. Right. But when you whistle while you work, that means you can be happy while you're working.
Right.
Right? But the working in itself can be a joy. And I think that's really where we know that the toil is bad, vacation is good. What's good? The picture from behind of the two lounge chairs at the beach, the two drinks on either side, and the little the sunshade and all that, And that is doing nothing is pleasure. But that's really not true. Toiling can be tremendous pleasure.
Interesting. Well, this is important. This is a very important lesson that people need to listen to here. So, when you're going out of here and you're going to go sit back and relax and do nothing or play your video games or whatever, sometimes the people, or probably most of the times, the people that are happiest, true happiness, are the people out there that are actually doing something, achieving something, and doing something for others.
Right. Obligations and work versus rights and fun or enjoyment. Those two things, I would say rights and vacations. Obligations and work versus rights and vacations. Put that combo together and you've got a lifestyle. There's a lifestyle. And one of them, I think, is the happier one, and the obligations and work, to tell you the truth. Now, people might want to take advantage of that. Other people want to manipulate the hardworking people.
Right.
But the truth is, the ones that do, what do? So you get a lot of vacations, so you have to collect a lot of toys. They're miserable. And the people that are out there working, like the folks that I saw at the park, at the state park yesterday, there was a lot of really happy people. They're just eating hamburgers and throwing the frisbee around. And there's some families and kids and a dog and all that.
Was that Frisbee 2.0 or Frisbee 3.0?
Right, the deluxe Frisbee.
Were they really throwing it, or were they virtually throwing it?
Virtually throwing Frisbees.
Right, that's interesting. That's actually very, very interesting. And this good lesson. This one's a good lesson. Probably the most important lesson we've discussed.
Yeah.
All right, great. Great episode, and we will see you again next week, Jeff and the Rabbi.